Hello, everybody. This is the Ramcast. I'm your host, Savannah, and here's our co-host.
Hi, I'm Eli, and this is
Wesley White.
awesome.
Well, how's your day been? You know, traffic and all that, and doing adult things like you are an adult.
Well, driving out here wasn't so bad, but I'm driving down roads I haven't been down in about 10, 15 years. Potholes stay the same.
Yes, of course they do. Like the potholes on the old high school roads.
Oh, yeah.
Horrific.
Can't be as bad as the old campus, though.
I drive on the old campus like every day on my way to home. Oh man, I feel like I'm going down, Alice's rabbit hole every single day. It's like, okay, here we go.
Like it's not overgrown at this point.
Actually, yeah, it isn't actually overgrown, surprisingly. There's a lot of cars that'll just be there, no reason. But, is there anything you want to talk about in particular?
I mean, I'm pretty well an open book. I'm ready for y'all's questions. Y'all know at least somewhat about me, at least what to ask about.
I mean, I got a quick question, but what's Alice's, what is it, Alice's Road or something?
Alice's Road.
I don't know, I heard Alice's something.
Alice in Wonderland with the roads. I felt like I was going down rabbit holes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Rabbit hole, rabbit hole, rabbit hole, bum, 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 bum.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's...
But, so, I know that you used to go to high school, since I'm kind of your sibling and everything. So, how was the old high school? Like, what was life like that like?
So, at least when you got... I'm going to refer to it more in terms of coming from this campus, because I did attend this campus my junior year as well. And I feel like it's a lot less intimidating coming to this campus than it was going to the old campus. The old campus, when you're gearing up to go there, there were several different buildings, A through, I think, L. And they're all separated by, actually, you're talking a big square in town. And when you're gearing up to go there, you're not used to going between buildings because, I went to Dodds K through 7 and Bethel. That was all one building. We switched classrooms a little bit, but we didn't go from like building to building in such a grand scale. And it just made it that much more intimidating, at least to me and to a lot of people that I talked to.
So, like, the large scale of it made it intimidating?
Yeah, quite a bit.
I actually didn't know it had, like, an L building. I knew that it went through at least A through, like, G. But I didn't know it, like, even went past G at all.
So L building is the turf room.
Oh, I've been in there a couple of times here and there.
Yeah, that's where I used to park.
Ah, yeah.
We had a pool in the parking lot.
Was it because there was, like, a giant pothole?
Yes, and it kept growing.
Yeah. I think I do remember that. Giant pothole, fills with rain, boom, pool. Free of charge. Just gotta worry about the police, though.
But yeah, that was kind of the first thing, was just figuring out your way around. After the first day, it was fine. You knew where you were going. But it was a lot more intimidating than it needed to be, was more the point.
Kind of like intimidation, and then suddenly, oh, hey, you're an adult now, so, like, you're on your own kind of deal. Like, you went through the old high school. Like, if you went through a whole, like, old high school through all 4 years, you kind of, like, went through, like, an intimidating school, and then you were suddenly just, like, thrown into life. Like, all right, you've been through a really intimidating part of your life. Get over it. You're an actual adult now.
I mean, I feel like it was a little bit more helpful for, I guess, your life in college if you're going to attend a physical campus. But for the most part, once you figure it out, I think this is probably the case everywhere, but once you are there for, if not a day, a week, you're good. You can figure it out pretty easy.
So I know you got engaged a while back. How is, almost married life? Is it, up almost?
I mean, honestly, it hasn't changed that much. It's just kind of, I'm using a different term to refer to my fiance, and we're planning a wedding.
Just a new title.
Just a new title, but I mean, it's still probably the most important thing to me at this time.
Reasonably.
Yes.
Just don't bring her to the high school I know like a large handful of kids who would just say, I'm stealing your wife and you have no say in this.
I know a lot of people would say that.
She's very pretty.
Why do you think I'm here alone?
So I heard you say that you do online college.
Yes, which I kind of got on this before everything shut down and whatnot.
Mhm.
I attended Ren Lake physically for one semester, and then I realized physical isn't really my speed. I'm more of a technical person. I'm going for IT. I may as well be using technology, more hands-on to attend class. So lately I've been attending the University of Phoenix online. They offered me a lot better tuition to start with, and then I feel like I'm getting a better experience out of it because I'm more directly interacting with a lot of the VMs and technology that I would be in professional life.
How do you feel as like opposed to if you were to go in person and go there?
I feel like the experience would be quite more challenging because you have a lot of times you're expected to provide your own technology, provide your own access to whatever service they're using to teach you whatever. Whereas a lot of times with this, I'm providing my own technology, but I don't exactly go to somebody else and say, okay, how did you do this? And they've got a totally different operating system. They got to show me how to convert it over to my operating system. Anything that they need a specific operating system for, they'll just connect me through to a virtual machine and the work will be there. You just do it.
It seems like they have it way more worked out for the people online than they do in person.
For University of Phoenix especially, they've been an online university. I think they were offering it to the military in the 80s. So they've got it down. A lot of these new universities are starting to do it, because of everything going on. They don't have the experience to really know what's right, what's wrong to do. Mm-hmm. At least that's my understanding of it.
Okay.
It kind of makes me, whenever I hear you talking about college and everything, I think about you being like, I got on the bandwagon first, so I'm better than everybody here. I know how to do this.
Yeah.
Kind of my first thought whenever I think about it is I started doing it before COVID, so I'm a little bit better than you guys, so I don't know. It's my first thought. It's just kind of a silly, little...
Quite the trendsetter, am I?
Yes, very trendsetter. How dare you start COVID for everybody? How dare you? For legal reasons, that was a joke.
Let's see here. Your choice of college, you would go literally anywhere at all that you feel like would be best online. Where would you go?
I feel like University of Phoenix is one of those quite top institutions just simply because they've got that experience. If I'm going to be attending online, at least they've been doing it for many, many years. It doesn't take, experience provides a lot of insight when you're providing that.
All right, so let's talk about your senior year of high school and how you literally left the country for an entire year and how you went to Japan and did your schooling there. Because I know one of the best parts that I think was just kind of a funny thing on this end was that your schedule here at the high school just said lunch. That was your only class you had in your senior year was lunch every single day.
Yes, and I couldn't even attend that.
So, tell us a couple things about Japan.
So, when I first decided I wanted to become a foreign exchange student, I didn't know what services were available to me, how expensive it would. I didn't know anything about it. So I had set an appointment, and this is going to sound kind of advertisorial, but I set an appointment with my high school counselor who, can I name names on this?
Who?
Can I name names on this?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay. Who was...
As long as it's nice things.
Yeah.
Good, if you talk trash, you can't be like, oh, well, it was so-and-so, and so-and-so did this.
My counselor just shut me down. I went and got a different one for the high school.
She completely said, "No, get out of here, dude. I don't want to
Once
see
I got my counselor fired, I was able to finally go to Japan.
It was easy to put that evidence in her desk.
Yeah, totally. Totally
But,
framed for 8 murders that I committed.
But yeah, so I set an appointment with who my counselor at the time was. I don't know if she's still a counselor here or not, but Miss Stock.
No, never heard of her.
Oh.
What year would that have been?
I first talked about it in 2016. 2017.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, but a long time ago. But I set an appointment with them. They said, okay, here is somebody who I know is involved in youth exchange. Get in contact with them and see what they can do for you. And at the time, this was my sophomore year, and it was too late for me to get into the system to go for my junior year. So I decided, okay, I'll wait the year out and I'll go my senior year. So I got in contact with them. There's this interview you got to go through to get approved into the program. And, and it's not really an interview to make sure you're, professional enough for it. It's more of an interview to make sure you are independent enough to kind of become semi-self-sufficient in whatever country you get sent to. And, there's the long method of just traveling over to a different country is a difficult process in itself anyway. That's, nothing we can do about that. But they wanted, of course, you get the visa and you get the passport, and my passport's still good too. But, it wasn't that hard of a process. It's just there's not a whole lot of information just obviously available to everybody. But it is available to basically everybody.
And you weren't the only, exchange student. You were not even from, Illinois or anything, because wasn't there, another student who went who was, almost a couple hours away, kind of?
So, the youth exchange program I was in is known as Rotary Youth Exchange, which is with Rotary International. They're kind of one of the main leading reasons polio has been eradicated in the world, at least outside of 2 or 3 countries.
Clever. I guess.
Go Rotary.
There you go. Congrats.
And they... say that question again?
Where there were more than just you as a U.S. citizen, not U.S. student who went, and as a Illinois student who went.
Yeah, so Rotary Youth Exchange has various districts, and it's divided across the U.S. It's divided in districts across every country of the world that allow it, of course. We would be in what is District 6510, which is basically Effingham South, I believe, and we're the southernmost district in this region. And it goes from here to North Dakota to some parts of Toronto. Kind of a big area, but, whatever. Any youth exchange student involved with Rotary, they gather in Grand Rapids, Michigan every year for a big convention, which they haven't done the last few years for obvious reasons. But you get to meet all these other people from other countries and from your kind of local area that are going to all these different places of the world, and you make a lot of friends that way. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, there have been people 20 minutes away. There have been people several hours away.
Yeah, and I remember you seeing those photos. Those are great photos, by the way. Loved them.
How was it challenging at all being away or not being able to maybe understand some people more than others? I've heard that some foreign exchange students have troubles with the family that they're with and just kind of being at a different place than what home usually is.
So for me, I don't really get homesick as a lot of people tend to. I'm pretty well, as long as I've got my phone, some form of decent internet connection, I can message some of the people that I want to talk to. I don't really get homesick. I can adapt pretty well anywhere. And Japan kind of proves this point a little bit because it's such a different culture to what you would ever expect. There's certain stereotypes that you can follow and understand, but until you experience it firsthand, and I even attended a high school over there, it's different. I can see how a lot of people would just get homesick, want to go home, and leave. But for me, that wasn't as big of an issue. I'm pretty well adaptable. I took to it pretty well.
Okay, awesome. Let's hear about your favorite foods, though.
Oh man, this is gonna be a good question. I'm genuinely curious now.
Do you want the wild stuff first, or do you want
let's get the normal, and then we'll go down. Like
Yeah.
we'll go deeper.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll go
down
from
the
like
hole.
what you could like most expect or like what's like I guess normal to like I guess, and then we'll keep getting crazier, crazier, crazier. So it's like all right,
So, the best food, at least that I had out there, is what's called Tonkatsu. It's kind of just a deep fried pork cutlet, typically served over rice with a side of curry, typically.
Mm.
And it's delicious, obviously. But then there's, let me give you a little example story type thing here. Say you're in Chicago and you come across a restaurant that's down a dark alley. Are you going to go into that restaurant?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In Japan, sure. I wouldn't want to do it in Chicago.
Well,
No,
I guess you're right, but
you got a
there's
point.
like there are different places you could go where it's like it's better.
But
yeah.
but like I can walk into a dark alley ramen shop in Japan, get big bowl of ramen for $2-3. Great, but you don't get that here. That's not you just don't.
You can walk around a maze in Japan and then find something random, go in there, and you're like, I like this place.
It's like this is
Yeah.
the best place in the world
I
until
know,
you get to
I
the
could
next
stay
place and it's like
here.
yeah.
It's like I could stay here forever.
But then Illinois, you walk around, you find a McDonald's, and you eat for $5.
yeah.
Yeah. Or you might like walk around for like 2 or 3 hours and go, oh man, I'm really hungry, but I can't find anything. And the McDonald's is just so well hidden. It's in the camouflage. So, speaking of Japan and all that, do you remember any Japanese?
So I would, and I'm still this way. My Japanese is quite rusty, but I speak what is socially referred to as gaikaku Nihongo, which is like foreigners Japanese. It's very basic, very formal, but it's simple enough that even if you don't know certain words, like the hardest thing for really anybody is vocabulary in Japanese. If you don't know a certain vocabulary word, you can kind of substitute that for the English word, and most people can make sense of what you're trying to say.
So it's kind of like if somebody here like had, because there's still like foreign exchange students like here, because isn't there like
We did have Elenia, and then she was a Italian foreign exchange student, and then right now we have a German foreign exchange student. She's been here for a while. I haven't talked to her, but probably should. She's just a year below me, so that's as much as I know.
I know one of them is staying with a family that I actually grew up with for a while. I actually kind of found that interesting.
Wait, is she the French foreign exchange student?
I don't know. She might be. She was staying with Cadence Morgan, or at least that's what I know of from my father.
So you mentioned that she's 1 year below you.
Mhm.
So I don't know about this for Germany
Year
specifically.
conversion.
Yeah, but in Japan at least, what you would refer to as spring break is more or less their summer break. The spring break, summer break, whatever you want to call it, is basically a month long, and that's between your years, not summer break. And it's the years divided up into trimesters as opposed to just semesters. So you've got 3 per year.
Okay.
And it's, and you have to, even going to high school, you have to apply to get into a certain high school and get accepted. It's kind of like going to college, but you're not paying for it. You just have to prove the aptitude to attend.
Would you say that things are more formal down there?
Quite a bit.
I mean, was that good for you, or would you say you more of would have enjoyed kind of like a looser type school?
I most certainly enjoy, it being a lot more loose, but at the same time, I'm not going to ask that of a different culture. Like, I understand the reasons for it, and I that's not to say I didn't enjoy it. I loved every bit of Japan. There's not one thing you could point out that I hated.
So what was one of your favorite memories out of everything? Like maybe it was a tearjerker memory and that's why it was your favorite, or maybe it was just like one of the best times that you had there.
So there are a lot of events that I could get into that I went to this, I did this, whatever. For me, a lot of what brings me back, what kind of brings my head back into that headspace of being in Japan is if I smell sakura, cherry blossom scents. A lot of times when you can get it close enough, it triggers something in my brain that's like, it kind of makes me upset that I'm not there anymore.
It's like a happy memory.
Yeah.
What's probably one of your least favorite, I guess, stereotypes that some people put on Japanese culture in general, or just Japanese people?
I love that question.
I stole it from your brain.
When some people like to try to come up with a Japanese accent and they come up with that broken English, well, yes, it's typically semi-accurate. A lot of times they're overdoing it quite a bit compared to what it would actually be like.
For example, how would you, in your best way of doing it, how would it sound?
Let's not do that. Next question. So, you have any, favorite friends while you're down there? Do you still keep in touch with anybody from whenever you were there?
Definitely. My main friend group who I hung around with in Japan was a group of all of us who were from other countries who were in the same who were sent to the same Rotary district at the same time. We call ourselves Saitama Squad. There's people from Germany, there's people from Italy, Sweden, a couple people from America, some people from Mexico, all over the world. And matter of fact, one of them lives up in Moline, Illinois. But anyway, I keep in touch with them quite a bit. I mean, we're pretty well family at this point, just kind of how we've gotten to know each other.
So what's Christmas like here?
Here?
I mean, with the family.
Oh, well.
Oh no! Oh no! Can we skip that one?
I mean, we all send each other some stuff, but sending stuff to Germany is expensive.
But all I can imagine is you write out a will and you're like, give my friend blank from Germany,
Give
him
the Saitama
this
squad.
of my item. Give the Saitama squad 1 centimeter of my ashes whenever I die, and then they just get a box of ashes in the mail.
They measure it with a ruler.
Did somebody who mailed me some ashes just dumps it in the trash. Then they find the letter, they're oh no, this was a mistake.
All the fragile stickers you need to put on that'd be super expensive.
Oh man. Fine China, but it's your best friend.
Yeah.
Was it like an anime?
Oh,
I mean,
stereotypes.
it got me a lot more into slice of life anime. That's for sure, and that's kind of almost exclusively what I watch anymore.
Did you get the subtitles as soon as you got off the airplane?
I didn't get that patch.
Dang.
Dang.
I had to do it the hard way.
Book in hand. Did you do the
No, I didn't need
traditional
a book,
tourist thing of, sorry, I don't know what this means.
I've heard that it's actually more they have stuff just right below it, and it has it in English.
It'll either be in English or in Romanji. At least you can match up the sounds to the letters. But for the most part, yeah, if you want a ramen shop, every ramen shop will be labeled, ramen at the very least.
Yeah.
As long as you know what that is, you're pretty well good.
So
Won't starve for that day.
Yeah.
And you've never been to New York, but just from pictures alone, comparing New York to Tokyo, with how there's some of the big cities with the big bright lights and the thousands and thousands that come in every day kind of deal, comparing them to each other, how different would they be?
And this is just assumptions. Like I said, like you said, I've not been to New York City, but I can pretty well safely assume Tokyo is a lot more clean than New York. I don't need to have any worries on my mind walking down the street in the middle of the night in Japan. I would in New York.
Pizza rat.
Yeah.
Subway rat.
Pizza.
Subway rat with the pizza. In Japan, he would just be holding the pizza like this.
Subway mouse.
Oh.
That's another thing, the mass transit system in Japan. A lot of people take one look at it and say, oh, that's too complex, I don't want to learn it. Again, once you get on it for a day or so, it's not like you can't figure it out by looking at it for 30 seconds.
What is it like in the transit, though? Like, are people just kind of in there? Is they just like do your own thing, or are people more just like sitting down on their phone, staying as quiet as possible?
And more the latter, where it's actually a rule where you're not supposed to be talking on the phone. You're not supposed to be making a whole lot of noise. It's quite quiet on those trains.
You're not allowed to talk on the phone on the train?
Correct.
No disruption.
Which it kind of reminds me of. Is it true that in Japan, it's kind of like looked down upon to be like louder, and that foreigners are kind of like louder in a sense?
So, as a foreigner, in Japan, you kind of get this foreigner's pass, but even like on the trains, they're not going to let you just straight up talk on the phone. They're going to say, hey, hang up, tell them we'll call you later. But they do allow for a little bit of sticking out, especially if you're a foreigner. But in Japan, traditionally, the culture is do not stick out, do not stand out. Head down, do your thing.
Do your
home,
best
don't
to be
bother
one of
anything.
us.
Yeah.
So host families, what were those like? Kind of gaining, I guess, in a sense, a new family to be around and to live with. How was, having them, and do you keep in touch with them still?
I still keep in touch with all my hosts. I had 3 host families. I love them dearly, and yeah, I most certainly keep in touch with them, and they send me holiday wishes. I send them holiday wishes, and
All right, host family members rating 1 out of 10, starting from the beginning.
I'm not gonna start rating them.
Aw, I tried.
He gotcha. He said nope.
They're all wonderful. I mean,
that's good to hear, though.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that's kind of to be expected out of at least Rotary Youth Exchange. They very heavily vet their expected host families.
I might have to give this a try.
So, since we're speaking about it, how do you go about getting involved with Rotary? Because I know you talked about having an interview, but there's got to be more steps than just like get an interview, get a pass, and then all right, we're good to go. Like, is there like a criteria you have to meet, or is there meetings you have to go to constantly?
So they expect you to go to the Rotary International meetings of your local Rotary Club. Not every meeting, but most of the meetings before you leave, and when you're in your host country, you're expected to pretty well go to every meeting unless you're doing something or whatever. When one of the requirements that they have at the beginning is you have to keep a GPA of like 2.75, and this might have changed in the, I don't know, what's it been, 5-6 years since I've been there. But back when I did go, I think they expected you to have a GPA of 2.75. You obviously had to convey some sense of individuality and the ability to, be self-sufficient. But for the most part, as long as you can get in contact with your local Rotary Club, they will be able to give you, okay, you're going to call this guy, he'll explain to you everything you need. Because this could have changed quite a bit in those however many years. It's just going to come down to who you get in contact with, and they will give you what you need.
So coming home and going, like leaving on like an airplane and such like that, like the feelings that you were feeling at that moment, like compare it to like you left, and like compare those feelings like whenever you came back.
I was a lot more nervous going over than I was coming back. I was up for probably 36 hours before the flight out to Japan. Had a 2-hour flight to Minneapolis from St. Louis, then an 18-hour flight from Minneapolis to Tokyo. I didn't sleep at all going out there. Coming back, I slept the whole way back. It was fine.
Was it the airplane?
It wasn't the airplane's fault, no. It was straight anxiety.
What was like the last thing that happened while you were out, like in Tokyo, and then
I made sure to take one last trip to the Odaiba Mall, which is this huge, I think it's like a 35-story mall.
Oh my gosh.
In like downtown Chiba. It's got a ginormous statue out front from Gundam, and
I think I saw that.
Man, a 35-story mall. I couldn't even comprehend that. So, speaking of malls and all that kind of good deal and busy streets, J fashion and just Japanese fashion in general, like, what might have been probably your favorite fashion if you were to try and get into it, and how different is it compared to, like, you know, street clothes that we wear every day, like a hoodie?
So I'm not much of a fashion person. Obviously, I'm here in a hoodie and sweatpants. But
Same hoodie even worse since high school.
one of my favorite looks that they kept constantly pulling off while I was there in Japan, it was kind of this urban techno look. You know, you'd have like a dark green jacket with like a big mouth covering on it. It looked intense, had straps everywhere, but it was fun to dress up in that. I've got some of the looks from it. And of course there's school uniforms as well.
Yeah.
Which I still have my school uniform. Those are quite nice. That's probably the fanciest thing I own.
I thought about it as I was waiting for you to get into the office. I was like, what if he brought the sword? Not the katana, the bamboo sword that you have. And I was like, that would be, would you, because I'm trying to think about it, like, if you brought it into the high school, like, what would the high school's reaction be? What do you think?
What would the high school's reaction to be to him bringing a bamboo sword?
Yeah, it wouldn't be the katana, because obviously they'd just veto that immediately, but, like, the bamboo sword, because it's just a little sword made out of bamboo. It's
So
practically like
you're talking about the bokken.
Yeah, the thing that you use.
That was used for kendo class. They wouldn't bat an eye at that.
Yeah.
But
I messed around with one before. I don't do kendo class. We're gonna ignore that one.
Yeah.
But I heard that leather jackets got banned recently out there.
in Japan,
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
I mean,
what's
some
that
schools
do?
have some very strict policies that may have been
Clothing
banned in a lot of
policy.
schools to begin with anyway.
Mm.
Like my school expected me to show up in the uniform. You know, I could change out of it once I was there, but I had to show up and leave in the uniform.
I mean, at least it's like show up, but as long as we don't see you like outside of it or something like that.
I mean, it just came down to, you know, show up, leaving it. That's fine. Change into whatever when you're here. Just make yourself comfortable. But when I guess the equivalent position here would be the superintendent. If the superintendent comes to town, everybody will be in their winter school uniforms. You know, black top, black pants,
Yeah.
clean. You know, everything has to be pretty well tight.
So the superintendent is out of town. Like they don't go to the high school. They're not there.
Not super often.
Not super often.
Couple times every year, at least that's how I experienced it.
Okay.
Now, whether that's out of the ordinary, I don't know.
So how lax were they with like dress codes and like having to wear the uniform?
It would vary based on the school. Every school sets their own standards. Some schools they don't have a uniform at all. Other schools you have to be you have to show up in the uniform, leave in the uniform, and they will make sure you get home in the uniform before you go out.
How? So would it be like obvious if a student was like in a different social class than another based on just uniform alone, or just based on really anything?
Did they like purposely like make you guys seem different than the other?
No, I mean, at least for me, the foreigner, they accepted me right in. Just they even invited me to rugby practice the first day I was there. Like, man, I barely know my way home. You're inviting me to rugby practice?
Rugby, I heard that's difficult.
That's fun.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It's like football, but more extreme. From
I played football my freshman year,
But so social classes, were they like, mine is just anything in general, just a general question of, were social classes like obvious to tell, like how you can tell here, or were they a bit more hard to tell?
social classes, you don't really have a whole lot of. There's a very big high end, but your low end is still like you've got healthcare provided for you. You've got at least through college, like I think 2-4 years of college provided for you. It's a lot different than here.
So, let's say here. So the vending machines, right? Like the crazy vending machines. They always have like different
Vending
stuff.
machines that literally don't work, that are just outside this room.
Well, I mean like the ones out in Japan because they got crazy stuff. You can get full Gundams. You can get all kinds of stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
What was your experience with that?
Claw
So,
machines.
one of the first places my first host family took me was to Capsule City, which I think they shortened that to Kapu City, in Tokyo. Akihabara is the actual city name. And you walk in, it's wall to wall to ceiling of just capsule machines. You put in a coin,
gosh.
I've got a couple things from it. Quite a bit of fun. But even like food and drink, like there's hot vending machines, cold vending machines. and they're really intricate and complex in the technology they've integrated into them.
So are they like money stealers? Do they like steal money like they do here in the U.S.
No.
more than often?
They are very well maintained.
I think it's the complete opposite of money stealers. I think they actually make it to where the grip actually works on it.
Yes.
Oh my god!
So you can pull it out.
I'll
It's-
just go steal some grippers from Japan. I'll attach them to a couple of the things in the bowling alley, and I'll be set.
I think it's purely based on like your actual technique and if you're good at it, as compared to like here it's like give me your money and then I
Give
can
me
have
your money like 5 times, and you'll get food eventually.
I went on a trip with my host Rotary Club up to a city called Aomori, which is just, the city name means Blue Forest, but it's like the northernmost city you get to before you get to the northern island of Hokkaido. And they had quite a few older vending machines up there. And these are old glass Coke bottle vending machines. And like you look at the date on them, they predate World War II.
Wow.
And they've just maintained them so well through the years that they look like they're brand new.
Wow.
I have to go see this.
That's
They-
incredible.
yeah, they are intense.
That's incredible. Like, I'm surprised that the Coke didn't start, like, turning the glass or anything, like, a different shade
No,
as it aged. Oh,
Do they keep it out of the sun? Because I feel like that would probably help it a lot.
the one I was at least was just inside of a mall. The sun kind of comes in on it, but the windows are polarized to enough of a degree that it blocks out a lot of the UV that harms it.
I kind of feel like, Japan's definitely at 99% better than America.
Better construction.
Mainly because of the vending machines, but the other few percentages are probably, like what you said.
You
transit,
talk
stuff
about
like that.
construction.
Yeah.
When I got to Japan, I moved in with my first host family. They had just moved into that house. Like, they had just built the house like a month before, and they were in the middle of moving into it when I'm getting there.
So they helped you move in while you're helping
Yeah, well,
them
they-
move
yeah.
Yeah.
Helped them build quite a bit of IKEA furniture.
in.
Ah.
Learned how to do it in Japanese as well.
Did you go to the IKEA?
Oh, yeah. They
How
call
was
it
it
IKEA, but yeah,
Ika.
it's spelled the same way.
Ikea.
Have any meatballs at the IKEA?
They did.
They're
They're very
meatballs.
popular there, is my understanding, but they work. But it's when you go to Japan and you see all these real small ramen shops that are like, there are ramen shops there that are like 10 square feet, but there's also ramen shops that are 5,000 square feet. Then you see a big IKEA that's bigger than this campus.
Oh
Just
my
in the middle, it just
gosh.
sticks out. It's
So-
nice, but it sticks out.
Big, bright, yellow, blue lights shine over you as you look at your IKEA. And you say, I'm going in there today.
Yeah.
Well, and this one was a part of a big complex. So you had the IKEA that was like the biggest building for miles. It was a part of this big complex that had a Costco attached to it. So
Oh my
you had
gosh.
another like 500,000 square foot warehouse sitting right next to it.
Forget Walmart being the everything store, and that IKEA really said something. I don't want to be just nobody. I want to stand out. Okay, I like to stand out.
What would you say that after high school got over and everything, you got back from your trip, what would you say the best advice is just to get through it and to, just keep going with your high school life?
Don't focus so much on what other people say about the things you like. I like Japanese culture. So I went, and it's paid off quite a bit for me. I'm doing this interview mostly about my time in Japan. I would have been able to do that. But if you have an interest, pursue it at all costs and learn everything you can about it. Because you can start having fun with it. Like, I've started developing a method for converting the Japanese language to math.
That is actually extremely cool.
So you mean like, whenever somebody says, oh, hey, this thing that you like isn't exactly, the coolest thing, I don't like it. And then you hear other people start to say that. Don't, get discouraged and start disliking that yourself.
Yeah, don't get discouraged over the popularity of something you like. If you like it, by all means pursue it.
Yeah.
It will be worth it in the end, whether it's, audio, video, robotics, or whatever you might do.
I think robotics is, close to one of our popular groups.
I was on the robotics team
Likewise.
when I attended here as well.
I only did middle school.
We even have a mascot.
No, we have a robotics
We have 2
mascot.
mascots for the high school. Isn't that just wonderful?
I think we gotta be getting things wrapped up here soon. We
Yeah.
got like maybe 2 more minutes.
Something like that. Thank you so much, Logan, for coming over, or Wesley as you prefer. Thank you so much, though, for coming over and being our guest. We very much appreciate it. Is there any last words that you'd like to say, advice, or just something random to say before we close?
Literally, almost probably anything.
I mean, if anybody has an interest in foreign exchange, by all means, look up Rotary Youth Exchange. It is worth the experience. If you think you can handle the independence, do it. It will pay off immensely. Not necessarily monetarily immediately, but mentally, it will pay off.
You'll get there eventually.
Yes.
You'll figure it out.
Yeah, you'll figure it out.
Yeah, you may struggle a little bit, but you'll most likely figure it out, hopefully.
If you don't, there are people to help.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming here.
And I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
appreciate you telling us all this stuff. Japan sounds cool. Might have to go someday. Something, get it figured out. This was awesome. It was nice.
Quite a bit of fun.
Well, this was your host, Savannah, and co-host.
I'm Eli.
Nice. Nice exit.